Why do we play games? The easy answer is because they're fun, but if we dig deep then we see that's not the whole picture and there are other reasons. For example, anyone who remembers their first time playing a Souls game will probably tell you there were some bits that were very not fun, but the joy came from the brilliant feeling of overcoming the challenge, persevering, improving, and when you finally got that boss defeated pop-up, the euphoria hit like a truck. I think that puzzle games give a similar feeling. It is fun to play something that works your brain, but the best experiences I've gotten from puzzle games are the eureka moments when you solve a puzzle that really challenge you, especially ones where your understanding of the world and the way it works changes fundamentally, and the solution you've been struggling with for hours finally becomes clear. One of my favourite subgenres of puzzle games to play to get these feelings are Myst-likes. Games inspired by Cyan Inc.'s 1993 cult classic Myst. The game was incredibly influential with the way it dropped the player into a mysterious world where the core idea behind the puzzles was for the player to understand how the world works, like the purpose of the esoteric machines in the Mechanical Age, or how to access and navigate the out-of-reach walkways in the Channelwood Age. The Myst series is credited to have inspired some of the most popular puzzle games today, like Mobius Digital's Outer Wilds and Dogubomb's Blue Prince, but the one I've been thinking about a lot recently is Zadbox's 2016 release Quern: Undying Thoughts. In Quern, the player starts the game by a portal, waking up in a place that they soon learn is called Quern. They are greeted with a mysterious note from the prior inhabitant of this place, and after solving a simple puzzle designed to teach the inventory system and how to interact with objects, they are released into a sort of plaza, with an eye-catching but out-of-reach floating tower in the middle. And with this, the gameplay of Quern starts. Bit by bit you explore this land, at first locked out of most areas, confused by how anything works, but slowly you begin to piece together what you're supposed to do here, progressing through the world, unlocking more areas, and learning more about the story and the mystery of what your goal here actually is. The rules of puzzles are rarely explained to you. You must theorise about how things work, test it, and then learn from the results. Sometimes, even the question of what is a puzzle isn't explained. The world is full of things, and it's up to you to investigate each of them and work out when something you saw previously is now relevant. The best moments in Quern come from when you are unsure of what to do next, running back and forth across the whole island, pulling on threads of different puzzles and trying to connect dots until it hits you, a breakthrough somewhere, and suddenly it feels like the whole island starts to unspool like yarn. Quern is one of the best Myst-like games, capturing the vibes of the original game so well and innovating with a bigger and better world. So when Zadbox released their second game a couple of weeks ago, Dimhaven: The Lost Source, I played it on release. Dimhaven is set in a new world completely unique from Quern. It largely follows the same delightful Myst-like gameplay, but the key difference is that it does away with Quern's more open world-esque design and instead has the player solving their way through 4 decently sized acts. Personally I prefer the way Quern did it, but the meat of the game here, the puzzles, are all very good. The game still had me running around these areas trying to piece together what figurative keys for each figurative lock, or retracing my steps trying to find the stones left unturned and clues I had overlooked. It captured that same feeling I got from Quern. The game isn't perfect. The version I played on release is quite poorly optimised and plagued with visual glitches, although no puzzle ever broke. My biggest complaint is that firstly, I just wish the game was longer. There may be some flaws, but the majority of the puzzles in Dimhaven are great, and the spooky, mysterious vibes of the world are just immaculate. I would definitely recommend it. I do think you should play Quern first because it's a bit better and longer, and then if you enjoy Quern, you should play Dimhaven. My second complaint, and the inspiration for this video, is the addition of a big hint button into the player's inventory. I pressed this button twice in my playthrough. Both times I came away thinking that the puzzle was stupid and unfair. Like knowing that the we in the sentence, "we have some new plans with Steve," is actually a royal we, and the writer meant "I have some new plans with Steve," keeping in mind that the writer is in fact not the Queen, and refers to himself as I in the rest of the letter. But even though I blame the puzzles, the hint button still left a bad taste in my mouth, and sent me spiralling down a rabbit hole. Should puzzle games have hints? It's an interesting question, and if we want a satisfying answer, we need to think of the argument for and the argument against. As a game developer, you are making an experience for the player, and not only do you need to make the experience good, but you also want to guide the player through it, like adding a tutorial, or putting some gameplay in a plot-focused game, or adding a skip button so that players who get stuck aren't forced to give up. But in a puzzle game, the solving is the experience, and a big part of the solving Quern was first getting stuck. Bad hints run the risk of ruining the game for the player. Perhaps if you could craft the perfect game, you wouldn't need hints, but no one is perfect. Especially if we compare puzzle games with solid rule sets like Snakebird or Can of Wormholes, with more abstract puzzle games like Myst, Quern and Dimhaven. The developer may understand their logic that a letter gives a hint about a bookshelf which can be opened using the code in the paintings, but that might not translate to the players being able to understand it as well. So perhaps we can view hints as a salve, a way to ensure that a player can get the full experience, but one that must be well designed as not to ruin it. And to get an idea of what makes a well designed hint, let's look at some case studies and walk in the footsteps of giants. We can start with one of my favourites, Can of Wormholes. In this game, each level is designed around a unique idea or interaction, and each level comes with a hint button which takes you to a smaller, simplified version of that level, designed to help show you that key idea by taking away everything else. This works very well, since you still have to solve the puzzle and learn the interaction you're supposed to. Now it's just simpler. Now, Can of Wormholes is a rules-based puzzle game, so it's easy to see how each puzzle could clearly have its own unique idea or interaction, but this hint design still works even in more abstract games. For example, in Riven, the sequel to Myst, there is a recurring puzzle of the doors that open when closed. The player will likely miss this the first few times they encounter it, until they reach a point in the game where they can see an area through a hole in the wall but no way to get to it, leading them to investigate more thoroughly and stumble upon the door trick, which they can go back and use in earlier areas. By giving the player a simplified environment set up to focus on this one idea, the developers are able to help the player see something they could have missed earlier without spoiling the joy of discovery or needing an overbearing hint. I recently watched a video by Tom Francis, developer of Tactical Breach Wizards, where he talks about the design of an information game and explains a model that can be used to understand them. Information game is another name for the genre of puzzle games like Outer Wilds. It's a hard genre to cleanly pin down, they've been called Metroidvanias, knowledge games, and a whole host of other names. As plainly as possible, these are games where you must learn how things work without being told. Tom Francis describes these games as following a cycle of hypotheses, discoveries, and theories, so perhaps we can work out what makes a good hint by considering where they fit in on this loop. Hints come in when a player can't go from any of their theories to a hypothesis to test, when they think that they have all the information currently available and no idea what to do with it. But instead of going back and rethinking their theories, hints act like a parasite, tempting the player away from coming up with hypotheses and ruining the experience. Quern doesn't use hints, but this feels fine because of how open the world is. You quickly learn that if you can't solve something, then you probably need to go elsewhere. Even in the cases where you are mistaken about being unable to progress in an area, this backtracking can lead you to pulling a different thread and returning later with a fresh view, ready to rethink your theories and what you previously assumed. This is similar to the Spire from Myst 4. This is one of my favourite levels from the Myst series, and the only good thing in an otherwise horrible Myst game. The Spire is a big tower full of caves and packed rooms, connected by elevators and twisting passages, and full to the brim with confusing machines, locks and mysteries. Esoteric technology is everywhere that can clearly be used, but to what end? Notes and other clues are dotted all about, but are initially indecipherable. The Spire is, in my opinion, one of the hardest levels from the Myst series, but the fact that the whole place is so full of mystery means the player is constantly moving about, feel stuck, or go look somewhere else. In Dimhaven, the small areas mean when you get stuck, you have to sit with your incorrect theories and just ruminate. The feelings that you have overlooked or misunderstood something now feel futile because you believe you have the whole puzzle in your hands and are still stuck with nowhere else to go. So within the cycle of information games, a well-designed approach to help the player go from theories to hypotheses is one that lets them keep their momentum by being able to put their energy into other ideas when one particular problem has them stumped for now. Perhaps we can fix this issue of giving the player the full experience with a different approach instead of hints. In Lucas Pope's masterpiece, The Return of the Obra Dinn, The player is tasked with using a magic pocket watch to replay the scenes of the deaths of every crew member on board the ship, working out who everyone is and their fate. Obra Dinn doesn't have hints, but in their place, the game has a system where if you enter 3 correct fates, the game will tell you and lock them in. This means if you have 2 fates you are confident on, you have some wiggle room on the next. Brute forcing would still take way too long, since there are a lot of crew members and possible fates to mix and match, but it means that if you have narrowed it down to a few options, then you can test them out. This mechanic also means that if you get a fate wrong, then you will know after you enter your next 3 correct fates. Lucas Pope never gives the player a hint, but through this mechanic, he ensures that the player knows about their mistakes and gently helps solve puzzles that really stump them, all while not ruining the experience of discovery, since you still need most of the info to guess. Outer Wilds is also a game with no hints, or rather, no explicit hints. You see, all the puzzles in Outer Wilds either have a big clue or the outright solution written on one of the text walls somewhere in the solar system. These clues remove the need for hints, since if you are ever stuck, you can just keep exploring until you find the solution. When the player realises they need to reach the Southern Observatory, they could investigate Brittle Hollow and work out how to do it, or they could go off and explore one of the other planets until they eventually stumble upon a lore entry explaining how to reach it. Having such massive clues in Outer Wilds works because the game is so big and focused on exploration. They never feel like they're spoiling anything. Read a wall telling you how to reach the sun station? Cool, I can't wait to see what's up there. The fact that the player is trying to uncover the story of the Nomai, and that the game is like a big spiderweb of mysteries, means reading these clues feels like progress and make the player excited to delve deeper down the rabbit hole. So after looking at everything, what answers have we found to the question, how do we stop the player getting stuck but not ruin the experience? Hints can be viewed as a solution to the problem of bad design, so through testing and iteration, we can make sure something doesn't only make sense in our head. Giving a player a big shiny hint button ruins the joy of discovery. By blending the help into the world of the game, we can aid the player more subtly, like the text walls in Outer Wilds, the simple levels in Can of Wormholes, or the rule of 3 in Obra Dinn. We can abstract the core idea or interaction out of a puzzle and give the player a simpler version to help them learn this, like the simple levels in Can of Wormholes or the doors in Riven. A locked room leads hints to interrupt the cycle of theory and hypothesis like in Dimhaven, so by giving the player lots of parallel threads to pull, we can keep the cycle flowing, like in Quern or Outer Wilds. And finally, in Outer Wilds, the clues that give away whole puzzles don't feel bad because they are built into the lore and story of the game, and solving a puzzle leads to more lore and story, which is the core mystery behind the whole game. So, by giving the player a bigger pull, we numb the pain of giving away puzzles. The design of games about discovery is a pretty massive topic. Like I said earlier, defining and naming the genre alone is quite a task. This is by no means a complete rule set of what makes a good hint, just some good examples in practice. If you know any other examples of a game doing hints or help without hints well, then feel free to comment them down below. But I think I've managed to answer the question of why Dimhaven's hint button left a bad taste in my mouth, so this is the end of my analysis. Thank you for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've watched until the end, I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. It helps support the channel and lets me know people enjoy this kind of video. Also, I'm currently developing my own game, Swope Minesweeper Roguelike, which you can check out on Steam or through one of the devlogs on my channel. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a truly wonderful day.